press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello dear students, in the last video we discussed the human respiratory tract in detail. So in this video I would like to take up the respiratory organs in humans. So the respiratory organs in humans are lungs. Okay, so let us discuss about lungs. So the respiratory organs in humans are lungs. The lungs are spongy, elastic, and triangular structures. The lungs are spongy, elastic, triangular structures. Respiration which occurs with the help of lungs, the type of respiration is called as what? Pulmonary respiration. The respiration with the help of lungs is called pulmonary respiration. So in human beings, the respiration is pulmonary respiration because it occurs with the help of lungs. Okay. Now, what is the number of lungs? How many in number? One pair. One pair means the two in number. A pair of lungs are present in humans. Where they are present? Location. The two lungs are well protected in the thoracic cavity. They are well protected in the thoracic cavity. So what is this thoracic cavity? Let us see. The thoracic cavity, it is formed by sternum, vertebral column, ribs, and diaphragm. So the thoracic cavity is formed by sternum on the ventral side, that is on the front side. Vertebral column is on the back side, that is dorsal side. Ribs on the lateral side, and on the lower side is diaphragm. See, thoracic cavity. So the thoracic cavity is formed by sternum on the ventral side. Ventral side means front side. Okay. So what is sternum? So sternum is the breastbone. So which is located in the center of the chest cavity. So this is what the sternum. So that forms the front, front part of the thoracic cavity, and on the back side there is a vertebral column. And then this is ventral, and this is ventral, and this is dorsal. Okay. So what is there on the ventral side? Sternum. And what is there on the back side and on the dorsal side? Vertebral column. And on the lateral side it is by ribs. On the lateral side the thoracic cavity is formed by ribs. There are 12 pairs of ribs are present. And on the lower side the thoracic cavity is formed by diaphragm. It is covered by diaphragm. So thoracic cavity is formed by sternum on ventral side, vertebral column on dorsal side, ribs on lateral side, diaphragm on lower side. The two lungs are located, they are well protected in this thoracic cavity formed by sternum, vertebral column, ribs and diaphragm. Okay. Now, let us discuss the lungs. Internal the structure of lungs. See, what is this? This is trachea. This is what? Trachea. It is also called as what? Windpipe. So it is supported by incomplete cartilaginous rings. So trachea on entering into the thoracic cavity, at the middle of the thoracic cavity, the level of fifth thoracic vertebra, it divides into two branches. So these branches are called as what? Primary bronchi. Okay. Here comes two lungs. So this is the right lung. Right lung. This is left lung. This is right lung and this is left lung. So and on the lower side present diaphragm. So what is there on the lower side? Diaphragm. Okay, so this is the diaphragm. It separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. So this is the diaphragm. It separates the upper thoracic cavity from the lower abdominal cavity. Right? And each lung is enclosed in by two membranes. The membranes are called as pleura. The coverings of the lungs are called as pleura, or they are also called as pleural membranes. So each lung is enclosed by two membranes. Okay. See the outer one, so these two are the two membranes or the coverings of the lungs. So they are called as pleural membranes or pleura. So this outer one, the outer pleuron is called as parietal pleuron. The inner one, the inner layer, inner covering is called as visceral pleuron. The outer is called as parietal pleuron, which is in close contact with the thoracic cavity, and the inner layer, the inner layer it is called as what? Below the parietal pleuron, one more layer is present. So that is what? The visceral pleuron. So the inner layer is called visceral pleuron, and this layer is in contact, and this layer is in close contact with the lung surface. In between the two membranes, some narrow space present. So in between the two membranes there is a narrow space. So this space is called as what? Between the two membranes. What space present? No. So this space is called pleural cavity. Pleural cavity. It is filled with pleural fluid. What is present in the pleural cavity? Pleural fluid. You can guess the function of pleural fluid here. See, this pleural fluid, it acts as a lubricant. Okay, so it reduces the friction between the two membranes. It reduces the friction when the two membranes rub against each other during breathing. Okay, so this pleural fluid will act as a lubricant so that the two membranes can slide over each other without any friction. So that is the function of pleural fluid. So it reduces the friction. So this is about the coverings of the lungs. So each lung is covered by two membranes. Outer is parietal pleuron, which is in contact with the thoracic cavity, and the inner is visceral pleuron. So that is in close contact with the lung surface. So in between these two there is a space, that is the pleural cavity, and it is filled with what? Pleural fluid. And so there is little difference between the right lung and the left lung. The right lung is short compared to the left lung. This is because of raised diaphragm on the right side to accommodate liver here. So here comes the liver. So it is due to the presence of liver in this place, the diaphragm is little raised towards the right side. So it is because of the presence of liver here, the diaphragm is little raised at the right side. So that's why the length of the right lung is reduced by 2.5 centimeter. So it is because of raised diaphragm, the length of the right lung is reduced by 2.5 centimeter. So it is shorter than left lung, whereas the left lung is narrow. And it is bigger also. The right lung is bigger, whereas the left lung is smaller. And it is wider. The right lung is wider, but the left lung is narrow. Okay, can you tell me the difference between the two lungs? The right lung is bigger with respect to weight also, and the left lung is smaller. Right lung is wider, it is wider, but the left lung is narrower. It is short, right lung is short, whereas left lung is long. And right lung, in the right lung, there is a presence of two fissures. Horizontal fissure, and this is oblique fissure. So in the right lung, how many fissures are there? Two fissures. This is the horizontal fissure. This is horizontal fissure, and this is oblique fissure. This is horizontal one, this is oblique. So these two fissures will divide the entire right lung into three lobes. How many lobes are there here? Three lobes. It is because of two fissures. The right lung is divided into three lobes. So this lobe is called as superior lobe. This lobe is called as superior lobe. And this one, this is middle lobe, and this one is inferior lobe. Inferior lobe. So how many fissures? Two fissures. How many lobes? Three lobes. So this is superior lobe, this is middle lobe, and this is inferior lobe. Okay, so let me label it as right lung. This is left lung. Here in left lung there is only one fissure. This is the oblique fissure. This is oblique fissure. Oblique fissure. So this fissure divides the left lung into how many lobes? Only 2 lobes. So how many lobes are present in the left lung? Only 2 lobes are present in the left lung. So this is the superior lobe. This is superior lobe and this is inferior lobe. This is inferior lobe. Right? This is the superior lobe and this is the inferior lobe. What is absent in the left lung? Which lobe is absent in the left lung? Middle lobe is absent in the left lung. Okay? And what is present inside the lungs? We already discussed inside the lungs. Branches of we can see the branches of bronchi, bronchioles, which finally end up in alveoli. So this is a primary bronchus, right primary bronchus, and this is the left primary bronchus. So this right primary bronchus on entering into the right lung, it will divide now. So it will divide. It will divide to form a secondary bronchi. It will divide further to form a secondary bronchi. So how many secondary bronchi are present in the right lung? 3 secondary bronchi are present in the right lung and 1 goes into each lobe. And the secondary bronchi in turn divides to form tertiary bronchi. Okay? Tertiary bronchi. How many number of tertiary bronchi are present in the right lung? 10 tertiary bronchi. So how many secondary bronchi are how many in number in right lung? 3 in number, and the number of tertiary bronchi in right lung? How many? 10. Then in the left lung, what is the number of secondary bronchi in the left lung? One going into each lobe, and again this secondary bronchi divides further. Divides further to form tertiary bronchi. And how many number of tertiary bronchi are present in left lung? 8. How many tertiary bronchi are there? 8. Here the number of tertiary bronchi are 10. Here the number of tertiary bronchi are 8. Okay, we'll come to know about the difference between the right lung and the left lung. And here you can see the presence of depression in the left lung. So this, are you finding this depression in the right lung? So this is called as, this depression is called as cardiac notch. This is called as cardiac notch. Why it is called cardiac notch? Because heart lies here. Heart comes here. Okay, it is because of the presence of heart So this notch, what it is located in this, heart is located in this depression, that is called cardiac notch. Understood? So this is about, and inside the lungs what are present? The branches of bronchi and the bronchioles which finally end up in alveoli. Okay, so this is about the lungs. Okay, how many are present? How many lungs are present in human beings? 2. One is right lung and another one is left lung. Where they are located? They are located in the thoracic cavity. Thoracic cavity is formed by sternum, vertebral column, ribs and diaphragm. And what is the difference between right and the left lung? How many lobes are present in the right lung? 2. Sorry. How many lobes are present in the right lung? 3 lobes. Superior lobe, middle lobe and the inferior lobe. It is because of the appearance of 2 fissures. And here the number of fissure is 1. So the number of lobes are in the number of lobes in the left lung are 2. And with respect to the size, the right lung is bigger, left lung is smaller. Right lung is wider, left lung is narrower. Right lung is short, left lung is long. Cardiac notch is present in the right lung? Yes, no. Cardiac notch absent in the right lung. Cardiac notch is present in the left lung. Understood? So this is about the difference between the right and the left lung, and inside the lungs we can see the branches of bronchi and bronchioles up to the alveoli. So where the exchange of gases takes place. Okay, let me write the difference between the right and the left lung. Can you tell me the difference now? Right lung, left lung. Right lung is bigger, left lung is smaller. Right lung is wider and long. Left lung is narrower and right lung is not long, it is short because of raised diaphragm, whereas left lung is narrower and long. How many fissures are present in the right lung? 2 fissures. Here the number of fissure only 1, that is oblique fissure. How many lobes are present in the right lung? 3 lobes. Which are the 3 lobes? Superior lobe, middle lobe and inferior lobe. How many lobes are present in the left lung? 2 lobes. Which are the 2 lobes? Superior lobe and inferior lobe. What is absent? Middle lobe is absent. What is the number of secondary bronchi in right lung? Number of secondary bronchi in right lung is 3. Number of secondary bronchi in left lung is how many? 2. Number of tertiary bronchi. Number of tertiary bronchi. How many? 10. The number of tertiary bronchi in left lung is how many? 8. Okay. So you have to remember all these points. So this is entire thing what I have written here. No, this is for NEET. Understood clearly? So you have to know the difference between right and the left lung, how many lobes are present, how many number of fissures are present in right and the left lung, which is longer, which is shorter, which is wider, which is narrower, and the number of secondary bronchi in right and the left lung, and the number of tertiary bronchi in right and the left lungs. Okay, so this entire thing is important for NEET, competitive. So this is about the lungs. Then let us discuss The mechanism of respiration. So this completes the structure of human respiratory system. So the human respiratory system consists of the respiratory tract, that is the respiratory passage that begins with external nostril, end up in alveoli and a pair of lungs. Now we will move on to the mechanism of respiration. Mechanism of respiration. Respiration process is complex. The process of respiration is a complex process. So it is divided into, it includes it occurs in 5 different steps. The first step in respiration process is breathing. Breathing. It is also called as pulmonary ventilation. Pulmonary ventilation. Second step is diffusion of gases between alveoli and blood. So here diffusion occurs at alveolar level, or we can say exchange of gases between alveoli and blood. The third step is transport of gases by blood. The fourth step is again diffusion of gases, but here at the tissue level. Diffusion of gases between blood and body tissues. So your diffusion occurring at tissue level. Diffusion of gases between blood and tissues. The last step is utilization of oxygen. So utilization of oxygen by the body cells to break down the organic nutrients to produce carbon dioxide, water and energy. So these are all the 5 different steps involved in respiration process. Okay, so let us discuss one by one in detail. Which is the first step? Breathing. It's also called as what? Pulmonary ventilation, right? Shall we start? You already know the definition of breathing, right? And come on, tell me the definition of breathing. Try to tell the definition of breathing. Breathing is intake of fresh air and the removal of foul air. How we can define breathing? In simple words, we can define breathing as it is a process of intake of It is the process of intake of oxygen and it is the process of intake of oxygen and release of foul air. The foul air means the air which is rich in carbon dioxide. Okay, or else it is the process of intake of fresh air. Better to write fresh air here. So it is the process of intake of fresh air and release of foul air. So the foul air is the air which is rich in carbon dioxide. Okay, so it is the process of intake of fresh air and release of foul air. Breathing involves, it includes two stages. One is inspiration and another one is expiration. See, one inspiration and one expiration is one breath. So breathing involves both inspiration and as well as expiration. So what is inspiration? So inspiration is intake of air, whereas inspiration is the inhalation, whereas expiration is the exhalation. Okay, so let me define inspiration and expiration. So inspiration is what? It is an intake of air or inhale of air. So that is called as inspiration. So we can define inspiration as it is a process by which atmospheric fresh air enters into the alveoli of the lungs. Or else simply we can define as the intake of fresh air. So what is inspiration? It is a process by which atmospheric air enters into the alveoli of the lungs is called as inspiration. And what is expiration? What is expiration? So expiration is a process. So expiration is a exhalation. Okay, release of air. We can define expiration as it is a process by which foul air is expelled out of, process by which foul air is expelled out of lungs. So this is what the definition of inspiration and expiration. See, how exactly inspiration and expiration process occur? See, during inspiration the atmospheric air will enter into the lungs, right? And during expiration the air what is present in the lungs is expelled out. So the movement of air in and out of the lungs occurs only if there is a difference in air pressure between the atmosphere and the lungs. Okay, so the inspiration and expiration occurs because of pressure gradient. So movement of air in and out of the lungs occurs because of pressure gradient. So it means a pressure difference between the atmosphere and the lungs, okay, which creates a flow of gases or the air from a region of its higher pressure to a region of its lower pressure. Okay, so the air, it will tend to move from a region of its higher pressure, the gases will tend to move from a region of their higher pressure to a region of their lower pressure. Okay. So for a movement of air to occur in and out of the lungs, a pressure gradient must be, the pressure difference must be created. Okay. So inspiration and expiration occurs, it is because of pressure difference, which creates a flow of air from a region of higher pressure to a region of lower pressure, so that inspiration and expiration happens. Okay. So let us discuss inspiration and expiration in detail. Inspiration. So let us discuss how inspiration occurs. See, inspiration is an active process. Inspiration is an active process. Why it is called active process? Because inspiration occurs with the help of, inspiration occurs because of the contraction of certain muscles. The contraction of the muscles requires energy. So this process utilizes energy. So energy is utilizing in this process. So as energy is utilizing in this process, inspiration is an active process. And let us say the muscles involved in inspiration. The muscles involved in inspiration are diaphragm muscles. The diaphragm muscles are called phrenic muscles. Phrenic muscles. The diaphragm muscles are the phrenic muscles. And one more type of muscles involved in inspiration are external intercostal muscles. EICM. External intercostal muscles. See, these are the two types of muscles which are involved in inspiration process. So, one type of muscles are the phrenic muscles. The phrenic muscles are the diaphragm muscles, muscles of diaphragm, and external intercostal muscles. Where these external intercostal muscles are present? So, the external intercostal muscles are present in between the ribs. So, there are 12 pairs of ribs are present? No. So, in between the two ribs, the space present is called as intercostal space. So, this intercostal space consists of two types of muscles. Okay. So, apart from external intercostal muscles, one more type of muscles are also present in this space, intercostal space. Okay. So, the external intercostal muscles are present here in between the two ribs. Apart from external intercostal muscles, other type of muscles are also present here. One more type of muscles are present here. So, the external intercostal muscles are present in between the two ribs. The space is called, in between the two ribs, there is some space, no, that is intercostal space. So, this intercostal space consists of two types of muscles. One is external intercostal muscles, and another type of muscles are internal internal intercostal muscles. Internal intercostal muscles. Okay, so both these muscles are present in the intercostal space which is present between the two ribs. Okay, so as there are 12 pairs of ribs, 11 pairs of these muscles are present. See, this is a sternum. This is a vertebral column. Okay, so this is sternum and this is vertebral column. Here comes ribs. Okay, so the space which is present between the two ribs is called as intercostal space. So this intercostal space having two types of muscles. One is external intercostal muscles and another one is internal intercostal muscles. So these are external intercostal muscles. So these are external intercostal muscles and these are internal intercostal muscles. So both the two types of muscles are present between the ribs, but their function is different. See, when the external intercostal muscles contract, okay, so when the external intercostal muscles contract, the contraction of external intercostal muscles shifts ribs, okay, ribs and as well as sternum. Okay, so the contraction of external intercostal muscles shifts ribs and sternum outward and upward. Okay, so these muscles are responsible for increasing the volume of thoracic cavity. But whereas the contraction of internal intercostal muscles shifts ribs and sternum downward and inward. Okay, so these muscles are responsible for decrease in the volume of thoracic cavity. So the contraction of external intercostal muscles causes increase in the volume of thoracic cavity, whereas the contraction of internal intercostal muscles causes decrease in the volume of thoracic cavity. And here the type of muscles involved here are, in inspiration, the type of muscles involved here are external intercostal muscles. Okay, these muscles are involved in inspiration. See, for inspiration to occur, the pressure inside the lung should be lower than the atmospheric pressure, because the gases will move from a region of higher pressure to a region of lower pressure. No. So for air to enter into the lungs, the pressure inside the lungs should be lower than the atmospheric pressure. Then only the atmospheric air will enter into the lungs. Then only the atmospheric air will enter into the lungs. So for atmospheric air to enter into the lungs, the pressure inside the lungs must bring down. So this is done by the contraction of these two muscles. Okay, so let us see what happens during inspiration. Right lung, left lung. Here comes the diaphragm having phrenic muscles. Okay, so during inspiration, the phrenic muscles of the diaphragm contract. So when the phrenic muscles contract, so the dome shaped diaphragm, it becomes flat. So when the muscles of diaphragm, that is the phrenic muscles, contract, the dome shaped diaphragm becomes flat like this. Okay. So this increases the volume of the thoracic cavity. So the diaphragm is, originally it is dome shaped, okay. So it is like this. So when the muscles of diaphragm contracts, the dome shaped diaphragm will become flat like this. So this increases the volume of the thoracic cavity. So once the diaphragm becomes flat because of the contraction of its muscles, the volume of the thoracic cavity increases. In which axis? Anterior-posterior axis. So the contraction of phrenic muscles increases the volume of thoracic cavity anterior-posteriorly. Okay, then when the external intercostal muscles contracts, so these are the muscles which are present in between the ribs. No, when these muscles contract, the ribs and as well as the sternum are pulled outward and upward. Okay, so this increases the volume of the thoracic cavity dorsoventrally. Okay, so the contraction of phrenic muscles increases the volume of the thoracic cavity anterior-posteriorly. Okay, so the contraction of phrenic muscles increases the volume of the thoracic cavity anterior-posteriorly, whereas the contraction of external intercostal muscles increases the volume of the thoracic cavity dorsoventrally. So this is upper side anterior, lower posterior, front ventral, back dorsal. Okay. So the contraction of phrenic muscles increases the volume of thoracic cavity anterior-posteriorly, whereas the contraction of external intercostal muscles increases the volume of the thoracic cavity dorsoventrally. So due to the contraction of these two muscles, the volume of the thoracic cavity increases on all the sides. Okay. So because of contraction of external intercostal muscles, the ribs and sternum are pulled outwards. No, so I am showing here. So it is because of the contraction of these two muscles, the volume of the thoracic cavity increases on all the sides. Okay, so once the volume of thoracic cavity increases, the lung walls are, once the volume of the thoracic cavity increases, the lung walls are pulled out. Okay. So that the volume of the lungs also increases. Okay. So this is what? The intrapulmonary volume, the volume of lung, that is intrapulmonary volume. Okay. The increase in the volume of thoracic cavity causes the increase in the intrapulmonary volume. So the intrapulmonary volume increases. So when the volume increases, the pressure inside the lung decreases or increases? The pressure inside the lung decreases. So the pressure inside the lung is called as intrapulmonary pressure. Okay. Once the intrapulmonary volume increases, the intrapulmonary pressure decreases than the atmospheric pressure. So the intrapulmonary pressure decreases, it becomes lesser than the atmospheric pressure, so that the air from the atmosphere will enters into the lungs. The air from the atmosphere will enters into the lungs. So this is what, so the air from a region of its higher pressure, it moves into a region of its lower pressure. Okay, so this is what inspiration. Okay, so this is what inspiration. Then, so understood clearly? So what happens during inspiration? The phrenic muscles contract so that the dome-shaped diaphragm becomes flat. So this increases the volume of the thoracic cavity anterior-posteriorly. When the external intercostal muscles contract, the ribs and sternum are pulled outward and upward. So this increases the volume of the thoracic cavity dorsoventrally. So increase in the volume of thoracic cavity causes increase in the intrapulmonary volume. When the intrapulmonary volume increases, the intrapulmonary pressure drops. So okay, so the pressure becomes lower than the atmospheric pressure, so that the atmospheric air will move from a region of its higher pressure to a region of its lower pressure. Okay, the atmospheric air will enter into the lungs. So this is what inspiration. So what happens during inspiration? The atmospheric air will enter into the alveoli of the lungs. That is what the definition of inspiration. So tell me what happens during inspiration? Contraction of phrenic and external intercostal muscles. So the contraction of phrenic and external intercostal muscles leads to increase in volume of thoracic cavity, which in turn leads to increase in the volume of thoracic cavity, leads to a similar increase in intrapulmonary volume, which causes a drop in the intrapulmonary pressure. So this causes decrease in intrapulmonary pressure. Intrapulmonary pressure. So when the pressure inside the lungs decreases, causes the atmospheric air to enter into the lungs. So the air from atmosphere, that is from a region of higher pressure, it enters into the lungs to a region of its lower pressure. Okay, so drop in intrapulmonary pressure causes the air to move from the movement of air from atmosphere to lungs. Okay, so the air from the atmosphere enters into the lungs. So this is what inspiration. So these are all the steps of inspiration. Then we'll move on to expiration. So before going to expiration, I take up the route of air during inspiration. Route of air during inspiration. So you already know the respiratory tract now in detail from external nostrils up to the alveoli. Can you tell me the route of air during inspiration? So the atmospheric air will enter into nasal cavity through external nares, right? External nostrils. So which is the first part of the respiratory tract then? External nostrils. So it is through the external nostrils the atmospheric air will enter into nasal cavities, and through the internal nares the air goes to pharynx. So then pharynx to larynx, then comes trachea, windpipe. So from trachea to bronchi, then bronchioles, and finally the inhaled air reaches alveoli. So this is the route of air during inspiration. Okay, so the inspired air passes through the inspired air, it will passes through the external nostrils, nasal cavities, and finally up to the alveoli. Okay, so this question may be asked for your NET exam. So that is sequence of air passage during inspiration. So correct sequence of air passage during inspiration. So it starts with external nostrils and end up with alveoli. Okay, so you have to remember this. Then now we will talk about expiration. Unlike that of inspiration, expiration is a passive process. Expiration is passive process. Why it is passive process? It is because expiration occurs because of relaxation of the muscles. So the relaxation of the muscles which doesn't require energy. Okay, so energy is not utilized in this process because relaxation of the muscles doesn't require energy. Energy is not utilized in this process. So as energy is not utilized in this process, energy is not consumed, no. So that's why it is called as passive process. So here it is called as passive process. And the muscles involved in expiration, same muscles, that is phrenic muscles of diaphragm and external intercostal muscles. But this time these muscles do not contract but relaxes. The relaxation causes decrease in the volume of the thoracic cavity, thereby increase in the intrapulmonary pressure. So thereby the air which is present in the lungs is expelled out. Okay, so let us see what happens during expiration. See, during expiration, the phrenic muscles of the diaphragm relax. So it is due to the relaxation of the phrenic muscles, the diaphragm will come to its original position. Earlier, during inspiration, it had become flat, no? Now again, it regains its shape, original shape. So again, it will become dome shape again. So when the diaphragm comes to its original shape, so the volume of the thoracic cavity increases or decreases. So earlier, so during inspiration it has become like this, flat, okay. But it is due to the relaxation of muscles during expiration, the flat diaphragm again it becomes dome shape. So the volume of the thoracic cavity decreases. And the external intercostal muscles which are found in between the ribs also relaxes. So when they relaxes, both ribs and sternum are come to their original position. When the external intercostal muscles relaxes, both ribs and sternum will come to their original position. So this further decreases the volume of thoracic cavity. So the relaxation of phrenic muscles and external intercostal muscles decreases the volume of the thoracic cavity. So once the volume of thoracic cavity decreases, the intrapulmonary volume also decreases. Intrapulmonary volume also decreases. So when the intrapulmonary volume decreases, the pressure, that is intrapulmonary pressure, the pressure inside the lungs increases or decreases. So here intrapulmonary volume decreases, but the intrapulmonary pressure increases. Now the intrapulmonary pressure increases than the atmospheric pressure. Okay. Now the pressure is more inside the lungs than the atmospheric pressure, so that the air which is present in the lung is expelled out. So this is what expiration. Okay. So the expiration occurs because of the relaxation of phrenic muscles and external intercostal muscles. Understood clearly? Okay. So this is what the expiration. So what happens during expiration? Relaxation of phrenic and relaxation of phrenic and external intercostal muscles leads to decrease in the volume of thoracic cavity. In turn leads to similar decrease in volume of thoracic cavity. So the decrease in the volume of thoracic cavity causes So in decrease in the volume of thoracic cavity leads to a decrease in the similar decrease in the intrapulmonary volume. So in turn causes increase in intrapulmonary pressure. So now the intrapulmonary pressure increases, it becomes more than the atmospheric pressure. So this causes the expulsion of air. This causes the expulsion of air from lungs to, this causes the expulsion of air from the lungs to atmosphere. Okay. So, expiration occurs because of relaxation of phrenic and external intercostal muscles, which leads to increase in the volume of thoracic cavity. In turn leads to, this leads to decrease in the volume of thoracic cavity. In turn leads to decrease in the intrapulmonary volume. When the volume decreases, the pressure inside the lung increases. So, this causes increase in the intrapulmonary pressure than the atmospheric pressure, so that the air is expelled out of the lungs. Okay, the air is released, that is, air is expelled out of the lungs. So, expulsion of air from lungs to atmosphere. So, this is what expiration. Understood? Then tell me the route of air during expiration. Route of air during expiration. So, starts with alveoli, then bronchioles, then bronchi, then trachea, then to larynx, then pharynx, nasal cavities, into external nostrils, from external nostrils to outside. So, this is the route of air during expiration, that is the correct sequence of air passage during expiration. So, you have to remember this also. Okay. So, this is what expiration. So, mechanism of breathing is very important for a board exam. If they ask you to write the mechanism of breathing, you have to explain in detail about inspiration and as well as expiration. Okay. Now, sometimes during coughing, during sneezing, we expire forcefully, and even during yoga abhyas also, we can able to increase the strength of our expiration. So, that is forcible expiration. That is forcible expiration. So, unlike that of expiration, forcible expiration occurs because of other type of muscles other than external intercostal muscles and phrenic muscles. So, let us see which are the muscles involved in forcible expiration. So, before that, tell me, forcible expiration is an active process or passive process? Again, it is active process. Why it is called active process? Because forcible expiration also occurs because of the contraction of muscles that utilizes energy, no? So, that is why forcible expiration is also an active process. And the muscles involved in forcible expiration are internal intercostal internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles. Abdominal muscles. So internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles. See, when the internal intercostal muscles, where are these muscles present? So these muscles are also present in between the ribs in the intercostal space, right? So I already said the contraction of internal intercostal muscles decreases the volume of thoracic cavity or increases the volume of thoracic cavity? Obviously it decreases the volume of thoracic cavity. See, when the internal intercostal muscles contract, so the ribs and as well as the sternum. The ribs and sternum are pulled inward, they are pulled inward and downward like this. So this increases, this highly decreases the volume of the thoracic cavity. So it is due to the contraction of internal intercostal muscles. The ribs and sternum are pulled downward and inward. Okay, so this highly reduces or decreases the volume of thoracic cavity. And further, the contraction of abdominal muscles. The contraction of abdominal muscles, it is due to the contraction of abdominal muscles, the abdominal contents are pulled upwards, that is towards the diaphragm, so that the volume of the thoracic cavity further decreases. So it is because of the contraction of internal intercostal muscles and the abdominal muscles, the volume of the thoracic cavity highly decreases. So if the volume of the thoracic cavity decreases, what happens? Intrapulmonary volume also decreases. So when the intrapulmonary volume decreases, what about intrapulmonary pressure? It increases or decreases? So when the volume decreases, intrapulmonary pressure increases. So the intrapulmonary pressure now increases than the atmospheric pressure, so that the air will move from its higher pressure to a region of its lower pressure, so that the air which is present in the lungs is expelled out. So this is what forcible expiration. Okay, so this is for competitive exams. Okay, if they ask you to write the mechanism of breathing, you write only inspiration and expiration. So this is for competitive, this is for NEET. So they may ask question like this: which of the following muscles are involved in forcible expiration? So they will give 4 options. First one, internal intercostal muscles. Second one, abdominal muscles. Third one, external intercostal muscles. And the fourth one, both 1 and 2. Okay, so obviously the option is both 1 and 2. Okay, so this is for NEET. Understood clearly? Now, I will write the table so that you can easily remember all these points what I have discussed in this class. So in the first column I write stages in breathing. normal inspiration, normal expiration and forcible expiration. Muscles involved. So tell me, which are the muscles involved during normal inspiration? So which are the muscles involved? Diaphragm muscles and external intercostal muscles. And which are the muscles involved in normal expiration? Same muscles again. Diaphragm muscles and external intercostal muscles. And what are the muscles involved in forcible expiration? Now here, internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles. Abdominal muscles. And it's because inspiration or expiration occurs because of contraction of muscles or relaxation of muscles. Contraction or relaxation. Okay, so during normal inspiration, the phrenic muscles contracts or relaxes? Contracts. External intercostal muscles contract. Okay, now during normal expiration, the diaphragm muscles relaxes. External intercostal muscles relaxes. And during forcible expiration, internal intercostal muscles contract. Again, the abdominal muscles contract. Abdominal muscles contract. Okay. So now it is because of contraction. Normal inspiration is because of contraction of muscles. No. So it is normal inspiration is active process. And normal expiration occurs because of relaxation of muscles. No. So this is passive process. And forcible expiration occurs because of contraction of muscles. No. Again it is active process. Now, volume of the thoracic cavity. Volume of thoracic cavity. So here, during normal inspiration, when the diaphragm muscles contracts, the volume of the thoracic cavity increases or decreases? Increases. And here also increases. Okay? During normal expiration, when the diaphragm muscles and the external intercostal muscles relaxes, the volume of the thoracic cavity decreases or increases? Decreases. Here also decreases. Decreases. Okay, and during forcible expiration, when the internal intercostal muscles contract, abdominal muscles contract, the volume of the thoracic cavity increases or decreases? Again here, decreases. Decreases. Okay, so this is the table showing the different stages in breathing and the muscle involved. It is because of contraction or relaxation. So the volume of the thoracic cavity increases or decreases. Okay. So you go through this table so that you can easily remember the mechanism of breathing and which are the muscles involved and all. Okay. So understood clearly? Thank you.